Hi, Mike.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I'm sitting on Zooms talking to DJs. Like, what? Who am I?
I know. It's time. It's time. You got to do the rounds and all that.
I love it. I feel so, it's weird because I feel more blessed. Like, it's like the longer that I get to do it, the more I know that I'm like, it's like life, right? Like, we know that we're going to run, we know what's going to happen, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
actually, it's going to happen. So to be able to have new music at this point feels, it's hard to explain it because I've had so many chances, but this one is just, I feel even more grateful than ever, which I didn't know was possible, but yeah, here we are.
Yeah. I grew up with you, and you're really a pioneer in the punk ska space, and you really helped bring that to the forefront in pop music and mainstream. Do you feel like you get the recognition you deserve when it comes to that?
You know what? I don't really go forward in my life trying to get recognition. I think that's the wrong kind of way to think about things, and I think that we would have never had our success if we were looking for that. Like, I feel like we were doing it from a really pure place in our hearts where we were trying to find our identity. And it's like when we found, my older brother found ska, and he was like my big brother. Like, he was so cool and he was so eccentric and artistic and creative. And it was like, I want to hang out with him. And he would be the one. Like, I was very passive. Like, so I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to do anything except for just hang out with my brother and my friends, and I didn't know that when I sang, it felt really good. And when I heard that music, it felt like nobody else knew about it. And it felt really cool to kind of have this secret like club. And then as we kept going in it, you found all these other people that knew the secret too, and then we were all cool together. And so I don't know, like, I don't really care. Like, I just know that I was so blessed to be able to find my identity. And a lot of people are get this. I see my children right now finding that through music. And music is so powerful, and it's interesting because this album is obviously nothing like the ska days. And I don't know, like, everyone wants to say I was so punk, and I guess there was a punkness in the attitude of like the energy of what we did on stage. And I mean, I know that my band back then wished that I was more punk. They wish they were in a real punk band. I know Adrian did because he wanted to do, but I feel like this album is like coming more from the punk inspiration of truth, right? And
Cool, cool.
being like purely who you are in the moment. And I think there is like an edge to what I'm doing, because I felt like when I started writing this record, which was a long time ago. I started in like 2020 trying to start off doing like more like reggae and ska. And
Yeah.
I like it kept not landing because I think I was trying to repeat myself or like compete with myself. And that just wasn't where that wasn't the purpose of what I'm supposed to be doing now. I found that out later. But like, this was more inspired by being in the back of the car right before I found ska music, and on my way to church in the station wagon, listening to all the songs that were on the radio in the 70s, which was like kind of what I grew up in, like when I was a kid, like,
Yeah.
I guess yacht rock or classic rock or, soft rock is, what I love so much. So this kind of had that inspiration as far as like sonically how this record sounds.
So when you look back on this album, 15, 20 years from now, what do you think is going to be the brightest spot when it comes to putting it all together, the recording process? What's going to really stick out to you as a fond memory?
For me, it was the fight, I think, which is always what we're doing on this planet, right? Like, whenever you have to work or fight for something, that reward is going to be the most fulfilling. It's just like exercise, right? Like, even though we hate it, it's like once you're done, you're like, dang, like I did it, and that's
Yeah.
kind of how this record feels, because at this point in my life, like as a person, as a mom, lady, woman, whatever I've become, like, you feel like it's hard to describe it, but you have a lot of feelings of like identity, like you do when you're a teenager. It's like, what am I? Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, it's like that again, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that like creatively, it was a fight because I was like, who am I? Like, I don't care about what I was. This record is kind of a bouquet because it is like a combination of the past, the present, and like the seed of hope for the future. And each song was sort of individually like finely chosen for this bouquet of work of art, and it does feel like a work of art for me, like, because it doesn't feel like I'm trying to like it doesn't matter. Like I did what I needed to do, which was write it. And so now sharing it feels like here's Christmas, guys. Look what I got you. Like, because I know that for me, it did what it needed to do for myself. And so I know that it will do that for somebody else. Like if there's no way that there's not at least one person that's going to get what I got out of it. And because there's something so real about it. There's nothing, I wasn't trying to do something. I can honestly say that. Now, I can say that I tried to do what I tried by going down the other path that I went down on all the cul-de-sacs that I ended up on to try to get to this record. But it's exciting. New music is just, and it's so like emotional because when you share it, it's like a confession, you know what I mean? And then you get like
Sure.
lifted, like you get sort of released, and it feels so good.
Is there a song on the album that makes you sob the most?
Um, I've had so far, like, because they've sent the record out to like I went to a bunch of stations here in LA, like to just talk about the record and stuff. And there was like maybe like three girls that told me that the song Pretty, that they cried already. And
Wow.
when I wrote that song, which, it was the same feeling, like the song is, it's about like not feeling pretty, right?
Mhm.
Until you're actually loved. And like how beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like it's so true when you find true love, because sometimes you look at people and maybe like even like they're older or they're like, you know, they're not as beautiful as they used to be or whatever, but you see that love between them and you're like, oh, love is not, it's not a visual. Love is something that's unseen.
Yes.
It's felt, so I think that song really like hits people when they hear it, like in that truth of that. And
Sure.
yeah.
Before we wrap up, I know you've kind of gravitated towards Olivia Rodrigo, and you've seen the punk inspiration in her, and so have people like Billy Joe Armstrong. I just wanted to know what you thought, what reminds you of yourself in her, or just the genre in general.
I think that when I first heard her music, I just heard that song, Driver's License. I think I was like everybody else that heard it was like, wow, this is like, I can relate to this song. Lyrically, it's so human. It's so told in such, the story was told in such a unique, like, but yet universal way. And when I heard that somebody out there, I didn't know what she looked like. I didn't know who she was, nothing. I was like, oh my God, this is a cool song. Who wrote this? Just like everybody else, I'm no different.
Sure.
and, and it did give me that little like, dang, this person's good. So then I got the record or whatever. And I remember I was in the backyard in Oklahoma. We were doing some gardening, me and Blake, and he's country. So he's like, what are you listening to? And I'm like, because it's also young, you know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah.
record is young, but it's weird because even when you're grown, you still relate to yourself from when you're young, you know what I mean? So I just was like, I listened to it and I just thought it was such a good written record. And then I got to meet her. I got to meet her on the red carpet when we were doing the Met Ball, and I hadn't been to the Met Ball in forever. And I was there on my own. So I'm just like standing, like the Met Ball's weird. So you like stand in line and wait with everyone to go, okay, you're
Yeah.
next. It's really odd. And she was standing next to me. So we got to meet each other and hang out. And she was just so cool. And she was telling me about how she was in like kind of a dead space with writing and how hard it is for her and how long it takes her to write records. And then Vampire came out and I was like so happy for her, but she's a cool girl. And then when Coachella came around, um, it was just, everybody always invites somebody up and it's just a fun thing to do. And so having her up there, you know what my favorite part about that was the photos. They're so cute. I don't even know how they got those. They're like,
Yes.
they're so funny. And she's like my little baby, but it's like interesting because like so many, like the younger generation, like my niece who's 15, she's like, that's her idol, like, and it's like, I can be like, hey, I got her text. It's really fun. But yeah,
Gwen, we're
there's so many good songwriter girls out there right now. Sabrina Carpenter, I love
totally.
her style, Chapel Rowan. Like, I mean, there's just some really great songwriters, and that's always so inspiring. Even like I loved during 2020, I loved Taylor's Folklore. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
I love that
Beautiful.
record. Like I love lyrics. So, and I'm a girl. So I like girl talk.
Yeah. Oh man, we're so excited for you. Thank you for
Thank
taking out the
you. You're
time. We
sweet.
can't
Thank
wait
you.
for you. Hopefully next time we could see you in person
I
and
would love that.
all that
I,
stuff. Absolutely.
we used to do like radio tours and like show up on all the stations and like bring a guitar and like sing. Maybe
Let's
that
do
will
it
happen.
next
Yeah.
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Gwen.
Thank you.